Sapphire Protocol. Authorization Kilo 7 Delta. The officer stares at her. Who are you calling? My employer. 18 minutes later, his captain is in handcuffs. The FBI is swarming the station, and this cop's career is over. What was that phone call? Why did 6 words destroy an entire police department? And what was a top-secret defense contractor doing at a traffic checkpoint? This is the story of how one arrest exposed a Russian spy ring operating inside American law enforcement. And it started with a simple question. Why do they only stop black people? This is the story of Naomi Harper, a 34-year-old compliance officer for one of the largest defense contractors in the United States. A woman with a master's degree in aerospace engineering, a woman with no criminal record, and a woman with something Officer Webb didn't know existed. Top secret clearance. On March 14, 2023, Naomi was stopped at a police checkpoint in Greenfield, a small city just outside Washington, D.C. The stop seemed routine, but what happened next would expose a conspiracy that reached from a local police department all the way to foreign intelligence operatives. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. We investigate real cases where ordinary people expose corrupt systems, and today's story is one of the most explosive we've ever covered. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for being here. Your support makes investigations like this possible. Now, here's how you can help us grow. Hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube to show this story to more people who need to see it. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an investigation. And finally, drop a comment with your location and the time you're watching from. It helps us understand our global community, and we love seeing where these stories reach. Let's go back to where it started. March 14th, 2023, 6:47 p.m. Naomi Harper works on classified weapon systems, F-35 fighter jets, top secret clearance. But right now, she's just thinking about getting home. Then she sees the blue lights. She's been stopped at this checkpoint before, twice. This time will be different. The checkpoint is at the intersection of Route 7 and Westfield Avenue. Officer Marcus Webb waves her over. He's 28, 4 years on the force. Good evaluations, no complaints. He approaches her window with a flashlight. License and registration, ma'am. Naomi hands them over. Webb scans her license. Checks the registration sticker on her windshield. He pauses. Your registration expired 2 days ago. Naomi nods. Yes, officer. I have an appointment at the DMV on Friday to renew it. Maryland allows a 30-day grace period. Webb doesn't respond. He walks back to his cruiser. Naomi waits. She glances in her rearview mirror. Webb is on his radio, talking to someone. He's talking longer than necessary for a registration check. Naomi watches. She's counted every second, 47 seconds too long. Protocol violation number 1. Sergeant Linda Kovac arrives. She's 41, 14 years on the force. She runs the checkpoint program. Kovac approaches Naomi's window. Ma'am, step out of the vehicle. Naomi doesn't move. May I ask why? We're conducting a safety inspection. Step out. Naomi reaches for her phone. She opens the camera app and starts recording. Officer, I'm invoking my Fourth Amendment right. I do not consent to a search of my vehicle. Kovac's jaw tightens. Turn off the camera. I'm exercising my First Amendment right to record police activity in a public space. Kovac leans closer. Turn. It. Off. Naomi keeps recording. Kovac signals to Webb. Obstruction. Cuff her. Webb hesitates. Recording police is legal. He knows that. But Kovac is watching. He opens Naomi's door. The cuffs click. Naomi doesn't resist. She just says one thing. Badge number 4th-M721. I'll remember that. Webb's stomach twists. Why would she say that? Kovac searches the car. Nothing. Then she finds a folder marked confidential. She opens it. Her face changes. She closes it fast. Transport her. I'll handle this personally. Webb notices. Kovac pockets her phone. Did she just take a picture? In the back of the cruiser, Naomi says nothing. Webb watches her in the rearview mirror. She's calm. Too calm. Most people he arrests are angry or scared or crying. Naomi is none of those things. She's just waiting. She checks her watch. Webb thinks this is over. But Naomi just started a countdown. And he has 18 minutes to figure out what he's done. Webb had processed 200 arrests at that checkpoint. None of them ever called their employer. He was about to learn why that was a mistake. 7:34 p.m. Naomi is booked into the Greenfield Police Department fingerprints, mugshot, personal property inventory. Webb fills out the arrest report. Charge, obstruction of justice. Secondary charge, failure to comply with a lawful order. He's written this report 100 times. It's routine. The booking officer asks Naomi the standard questions: name, address, emergency contact, and then, do you want to make a phone call? Naomi looks up. Yes, I need to call my employer. The booking officer blinks. Your employer? Don't you want to call a lawyer? No, I'm contractually required to notify my employer of any detention within 1 hour. Webb, standing nearby, frowns. What kind of contract requires that? Naomi doesn't answer. She's led to a wall-mounted phone in the processing area. Webb watches. Naomi dials. 2 rings. Lockheed Martin Security Operations. Sapphire Protocol. Authorization Kilo 7 Delta. I'm detained at Greenfield PD, 1400 Oak Street. Pause. Keys clicking. Clearance confirmed. Federal response deploying. 18 minutes. Do not speak until counsel arrives. Understood. Naomi hangs up. Webb stares. Who did you just call? Naomi doesn't answer. She checks her watch. 17 minutes, 42 seconds. Webb pulls up Naomi's file. A red banner appears. Webb checks the clock. 51 minutes since arrest. His stomach drops. He just realized he didn't arrest a traffic violator. He arrested a federal asset, and somewhere a countdown is ticking. Sarge, we have a problem. Webb bursts into Kovac's office. Sarge, we have a problem. DOD is calling about the woman we arrested. Kovac's face doesn't change. What woman? Harper, the one from tonight. She has federal clearance. We were supposed to notify DOD within 15 minutes. Kovac closes her laptop too quickly. When did she tell you she had clearance? She didn't. It flagged in the system. Interesting. Kovac leans back. She didn't mention it during the stop. Why not? Webb pauses. That's actually a good question. Maybe she wanted to get arrested? Kovac nods slowly. Maybe we just caught a spy testing our protocols. The phone rings. Desk officer picks up. Greenfield PD. This is Colonel Andreas from DOD Security Division. Your officers detained a cleared contractor at 6:52 p.m. I've been notified. Connect me to your watch commander. The desk officer's smile fades. He transfers the call. The phone rings. Parks picks up. Greenfield PD. Commander Parks, Colonel Andreas, DOD Security. Your officers detained a top-secret clearance holder 47 minutes ago. You didn't notify us. Why? Parks freezes. Colonel, Her license is flagged. Your system notified your officers. They ignored it. That's a federal violation. This was a traffic stop, during which time foreign intelligence could have compromised her. We're treating this as a potential security breach. Federal team arrives in 14 minutes. Have all records ready. Click. Parks stares at the phone. Kovac appears in his doorway. Problem? DOD is coming. They think we compromised a classified contractor. Kovac's face hardens. Or maybe she compromised herself. Parks looks up. What? Why didn't she tell us she had clearance? She could have avoided all this. Parks considers this. You think she wanted to get arrested? I think, Kovac says slowly, we should find out who she really is. Webb just realized. They didn't arrest a woman with an expired tag. They arrested a federal contractor with access to classified weapons systems. And they were 32 minutes late notifying the Department of Defense. The countdown had started, and in 3 minutes, everything would change. But something tells him it's too late, because 400 miles away, someone just authorized a federal response, and they're already in the air. 7:52 p.m. Exactly 18 minutes after Naomi's phone call, 3 black SUVs pull into the Greenfield Police Department parking lot. No sirens, no lights, just silent, efficient arrival. Colonel Andreas steps out of the first vehicle. He's in full dress uniform, silver eagles on his shoulders. 2 agents in plainclothes follow him. DOD counterintelligence. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask permission. They walk straight into the station. Parks meets them at the front desk. Colonel Andreas? Andreas nods. Commander Parks, this is Agent Reeves and Agent Kim from DOD counterintelligence. We need to speak with Miss Harper immediately. Of course, she's in the holding area. Alone? Yes. Has she been interrogated? No. She invoked her right to remain silent. Good. We'll need a private room to debrief her, and I'll need all records related to her detention. Parks gestures to a conference room. This way. Colonel Andreas sits across from Naomi. Agent Reeves takes notes. Miss Harper, are you injured? No. Were you coerced, threatened, or interrogated? No. I invoked my right to remain silent immediately. Did anyone ask about your work? No. Did anyone search your vehicle? Yes. Sergeant Kovac searched my car without my consent. She found a folder with classified documents. Andreas pauses. Did she open the folder? Yes, briefly. Then she closed it. Andreas exchanges a glance with Reeves. Did she photograph the documents? I don't know. I was in custody. Andreas makes a note. Miss Harper, why were you stopped? My registration was 2 days expired. Maryland allows a 30-day grace period. I had an appointment to renew it on Friday. Had you been stopped at this checkpoint before? Naomi nods. 3 times in 2 months. And your colleagues? Have they been stopped? No, only me, and I'm the only black woman on my team. Andreas writes this down. Miss Harper, we're going to investigate this thoroughly, but I need you to answer one question honestly. Okay, do you believe this stop was random? Naomi looks him in the eye. No, I think I was targeted. While Andreas debriefs Naomi, Agent Kim is in the conference room with a laptop. She's connected DoD's security clearance database. She runs a query. All cleared personnel with addresses in Greenfield or surrounding areas who have been detained by local law enforcement in the past 12 months. The results load. 12 names. Agent Kim's eyes widen. Colonel, you need to see this. Andreas steps out of the debriefing room. Kim turns her laptop toward him. 12 cleared contractors, all detained at the same checkpoint, all in the last 6 months. Andreas scans the list. Naomi Harper, Lockheed Martin F-35 program. James Okafor, Northrop Grumman, B-21 bomber. Lin Zhao, Raytheon, Missile Defense Systems. Terrence Boyd, General Dynamics, Submarine Technology. Angela Martinez, Boeing, Satellite Communications. Khalil Rahman, BAE Systems, Electronic Warfare. Andreas looks up. What do they all have in common? Kim highlights a column. They all live in Westfield Heights. They're all minorities, and they were all stopped for minor infractions, expired tags, broken taillight, failure to signal. Andreas is silent for a moment. Pull the arrest records. I want to see who processed each stop. Kim types. The results appear. Sergeant Linda Kovac was the supervising officer on 11 of the 12 stops. Andreas's jaw tightens. Get Agent Reeves. We need to brief Parks immediately. Parks is called back into the conference room. Andreas doesn't waste time. Commander, we have a problem. He turns the laptop toward Parks. Parks reads the list. His face goes pale. 12 cleared contractors, all stopped at your checkpoint, all supervised by Sergeant Kovac. Parks struggles to respond. That could be a coincidence. Could it? Andreas pulls up a map. Red dots mark the locations of each stop. They're all within a 2-mile radius, all in Westfield Heights. This neighborhood is predominantly African American and Asian American. It's also home to the highest concentration of defense contractors outside of the DC metro area. Your checkpoint is positioned at the only exit route from Westfield Heights to Route 7. Parks stares at the map. Colonel, I didn't know this. That's a command failure, but it's not the worst part. Andreas opens another file. Foreign intelligence services track cleared personnel. If they know your checkpoint targets a specific demographic in a specific area, they can use that pattern to identify who works on classified programs. Parks's voice is barely a whisper. You think we're helping spies? I think your checkpoint program created a vulnerability, and I think someone exploited it. Andreas closes the laptop. 12 names, 12 arrests, 1 officer. This wasn't profiling. This was a shopping list. 8:17 p.m., Agent Lisa Tran from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit arrives. She's been monitoring wire transfers flagged by Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and one name caught her attention, Linda Kovac. Tran enters the conference room where Andreas and Parks are reviewing files. Colonel Andreas? I'm Special Agent Tran, FBI. I believe we're working the same case. Andreas stands. What do you have? Tran opens her tablet. 3 months ago, FinCEN flagged a series of wire transfers to a police officer in Greenfield. Small amounts, $1,000 to $2,000 each. 18 transfers total over 6 months. Total sum, $18,000. Recipient? Sergeant Linda Kovac. Parks goes rigid. Source? A shell company registered in Moldova. The company has no physical address, no employees, and no declared business operations. Andreas and Tran exchange a look. Moldova, Andreas says slowly. That's a known hub for Russian intelligence fronts. Tran nods. We opened a preliminary investigation 2 weeks ago, but we didn't have enough to move forward until now. She pulls up a spreadsheet. Each wire transfer corresponds to a detention at the Greenfield checkpoint, $1,500 per cleared contractor. The room falls silent, because they just realized the checkpoint wasn't catching criminals. It was creating a database for foreign spies. Parks finds his voice. You're saying Kovac was paid to arrest these people? I'm saying someone paid her $1,500 every time she flagged a cleared contractor. That's espionage. For 6 months, the Greenfield checkpoint did exactly what it was designed to do. Stop cleared contractors, document their information, and pass it on. But to whom and why? The answer would come from an unexpected source, a bank account in Moldova. Tran lays out the evidence. Kovac has a personal checking account with a local credit union. Over the past 6 months, she's made 18 deposits, all cash, all under $10,000 to avoid reporting thresholds. She shows Parks a timeline. October 15, 2022, detention of James Okafor, cash deposit of $1,500 on October 17. November 3, 2022, detention of Lin Zhao, cash deposit of $1,500 on November 5th. November 22, 2022, detention of Terrence Boyd, cash deposit of $1,500 on November 24th. The pattern repeats. Every detention, every deposit. She's not hiding it very well, Parks mutters. She didn't think anyone was looking, Tran replies. Small-town cop, local bank, no federal oversight. She thought she was safe. Andreas leans forward. Do we know who hired her? Not yet. The wire transfers route through 3 shell companies before reaching her account, but we're tracing the chain. How long? 24 hours, maybe less. Kovac is brought into an interrogation room. She's not under arrest, not yet, but she knows something is wrong. Tran and Andreas sit across from her. Tran opens a folder. Sergeant Kovac, how long have you been running the checkpoint program? 8 months. And how many stops have you supervised? I don't know. Hundreds. How many of those stops resulted in arrests? Kovac hesitates. Maybe 50. How many of those 50 arrestees were minorities? I don't keep track of demographics. Tran slides a printed sheet across the table. We do. Of the 47 arrests processed at your checkpoint, 44 were minorities. That's 93%. Kovac doesn't respond. Sergeant, do you know Naomi Harper? I arrested her tonight. Had you ever met her before tonight? No. Tran pulls out another document. That's interesting, because during the arrest you referred to her as Naomi Jennings. That's her maiden name. It's not on her driver's license. It's not on her registration. So how did you know it? Kovac's expression doesn't change, but her hands tense. I must have misspoken. You misspoke her last name? A name that only appears in employment records and background checks? Silence. Tran leans forward. Sergeant Kovac, over the past 6 months, you've deposited $18,000 in cash into your personal account. Where did that money come from? I don't have to answer that. You do if you want to keep your job and stay out of federal prison. Kovac stands. I want a lawyer. While Kovac lawyers up, Tran and Andreas continue tracing the wire transfers. The shell company in Moldova leads to another shell company in Cyprus. That company leads to a third entity in Delaware, and that entity is owned by a single person, a lawyer, Marcus Delancey. Tran pulls his file. Delancey is a defense attorney based in Baltimore. He represents clients in civil rights cases, specifically people arrested at police checkpoints. Andreas frowns. He's representing the victims? Some of them. But here's the interesting part. He also has a consulting firm. It provides risk assessment services to law enforcement agencies. What kind of risk assessment? Identifying high-value targets for enhanced scrutiny. Andreas feels a chill. He was selling the names. Tran nods. He had access to arrest records. He knew which contractors were flagged, and he passed that information to a foreign handler. Do we know who the handler is? Not yet, but we're getting close. FBI sends an undercover agent, posing as a private investigator. They meet at a coffee shop. The agent wears a wire. Mr. Delancey, I need information on defense contractors, names, clearances, addresses. That's expensive. How expensive? $5,000 per name. How do you verify the information? Delancey leans in. I have a police sergeant. She runs checkpoints, targets minorities in specific neighborhoods. They're easier to track. The agent nods. Can I get a sample? Delancey slides a USB drive across the table. 5 names, contractors, clearance levels, home addresses. The agent picks it up. This is exactly what I need. I can get you hundreds more. Agent Reeves stands from a nearby table. FBI, you're under arrest. Delancey's face drains of color. Simultaneously, FBI agents arrive at Greenfield PD. Kovac is at her desk. Agent Tran approaches with 2 agents. Sergeant Linda Kovac, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit espionage, bribery, and violation of the Espionage Act. Kovac doesn't resist. She just sits there, numb. As the cuffs click shut, Webb watches from across the room. He feels sick. For 6 months, he'd followed her orders. He'd stopped people. He'd searched cars. He'd arrested people who did nothing wrong, and he never questioned why. Delancey's lawyer negotiates a deal, full cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence. Delancey gives up his handler, the name Alexei Volkov. Volkov is a Russian national living in Istanbul. He's a known associate of the GRU, Russian military intelligence. Volkov paid Delancey to identify U.S. defense contractors with access to classified programs. The goal, build a database, track their movements, identify vulnerabilities, and, when the opportunity arose, recruit them. Volkov wasn't collecting names randomly. He was building a recruitment list. And Naomi Harper was at the top. FBI briefs DOD on the scope of the operation. Volkov wasn't just collecting names, he was building targeting packages. Agent Tran shows a map. Red dots mark the homes of the 12 detained contractors. Blue lines connect them to foreign contacts, emails, social media messages, attempted phishing attacks. Every contractor Kovac flagged was later targeted by foreign intelligence. Andreas studies the map. How many were compromised? None. They all reported the contacts. But if Kovac had continued, Volkov would have eventually found someone vulnerable. Andreas exhales. This was a long-term operation. Yes, and it was working. The checkpoint wasn't about racism, it was about espionage. And Sergeant Kovac wasn't just a bad cop. She was an asset, a spy. Operating in plain sight. For 6 months, she sold the names of cleared contractors to foreign intelligence, and the FBI was about to find out who was buying. March 22nd, 2023. A federal grand jury convenes in Baltimore. The charges: Linda Kovac, conspiracy to commit espionage, bribery, obstruction of justice; Marcus Delancey, espionage, wire fraud, conspiracy to violate the Espionage Act. The evidence is overwhelming. Wire transfers, recorded conversations, arrest records. The grand jury returns indictments on all counts. The trial begins in federal court. Naomi is the first witness. Prosecutor: Miss Harper, why did you drive through that checkpoint on March 14th? I'd been stopped there 3 times before. Each time, I was the only person pulled over. My white colleagues drove through without issue. I suspected racial profiling. When did you realize it was more than profiling? 2 weeks before my arrest, I received a phishing email. It targeted my work credentials. The email referenced my home address, my car model, and my route to work. I reported it to Lockheed's security team. What did they find? Naomi, the email originated from a server in Istanbul. It was linked to known Russian intelligence infrastructure. Prosecutor: Miss Harper, 2 weeks before your arrest, you received a phishing email, correct? Yes. An email that referenced your home address, your car, your route to work. Correct. You reported it to your security team. I did. Defense attorney stands. Objection. How did Miss Harper know it was phishing? She could have been communicating with foreign contacts. Murmurs in the courtroom. Naomi turns to the defense attorney. Because the email asked for my credentials using language no Lockheed employee would use, and because I immediately reported it, which a spy wouldn't do. Prosecutor: what did Lockheed's investigation find? The email came from a server in Istanbul, Russian intelligence infrastructure, and the email was sent 6 hours after Sergeant Kovac pulled me over at the checkpoint. The courtroom goes silent. Because Naomi just proved something terrifying. Every time Kovac stopped her, foreign intelligence was notified within 6 hours. 6 hours? 6 hours after my second stop, someone was watching. Officer Marcus Webb takes the stand. Immunity deal, cooperating witness. Prosecutor: Officer Webb, you stopped 47 people at that checkpoint. How many were minorities? Webb's voice is barely audible. 44. Did you question that pattern? Silence. Officer Webb? I noticed. After the first month, I noticed. And Webb looks at the jury. His eyes are red. I told myself it was the neighborhood, high crime. That's what Kovac said. Was it high crime? No. His voice breaks. It had the lowest crime rate in the county. Why didn't you report it? Webb wipes his eyes. Because I wanted to keep my job, and that makes me just as guilty as she is. The courtroom is silent. Naomi in the gallery closes her eyes. Kovac's attorney argues that she was acting on legitimate law enforcement authority. Defense. Sergeant Kovac was following department protocol. She had no knowledge of any espionage operation. Prosecutor. Then how do you explain the $18,000 in cash deposits? Side income from consulting work. Consulting for whom? Various clients. Can you name them? Silence. Sergeant Kovac, did you know Marcus Delancey before this case? I may have met him at legal conferences. You may have? I don't recall specifically. Prosecutor shows a photo. It's Kovac and Delancey at a restaurant, dated 4 months before Naomi's arrest. Do you recall this? Kovac's lawyer objects. But the damage is done. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberates for 6 hours. They return with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Marcus Delancey. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing is scheduled for 60 days later, May 18th, 2023. Sentencing. The judge looks at Kovac. Sergeant Kovac, you sold American Secrets for $18,000. That's $1,500 per name. $1,500 per betrayal. Kovac stares straight ahead. Do you have anything to say? Kovac is silent. Then I'll say it for you. You didn't do this because you were desperate. You did it because it was easy, and that makes you more dangerous than a foreign spy. The judge pauses. 15 years. Federal prison. No parole. Kovac is led away. In the gallery, Naomi watches. Webb watches too. Neither feels victory, just exhaustion. The judge turns to Delancey. Mr. Delancey, you exploited your position as an officer of the court to traffic classified information. 22 years. Federal prison. Delancey's head drops, but in a server farm in Istanbul, someone just deleted a file labeled Greenfield Assets. Evidence. Gone. The case triggers sweeping reforms. DoD implements new protocols for all local law enforcement agencies near defense installations. Every police department receives training on security clearance holder detention procedures. The training is mandatory. Failure to comply results in loss of federal funding. Commander Parks is forced into early retirement. The checkpoint program is permanently shut down. Officer Marcus Webb is reassigned to community policing. He'll never work a checkpoint again. The 12 cleared contractors file a class action lawsuit against Greenfield PD. The city settles for $4.3 million. Each contractor receives compensation for wrongful detention, emotional distress, and violation of civil rights. Naomi Harper receives the largest settlement, $850,000. She donates half of it to the ACLU. After Greenfield, FBI audited checkpoint programs nationwide. They found suspicious patterns in 4 other cities. In 3 of them, minority contractors were stopped at rates exceeding 80%. In one city, a sergeant had received $12,000 in unexplained cash deposits. That investigation is ongoing. The FBI won't say which city. They won't say how many officers are under investigation. But they did say this: Greenfield wasn't unique. It was just the first one we caught. This wasn't one corrupt cop. This was a model being replicated. How many checkpoints are still operating? How many Kovacs are still out there? And how many foreign agents are still watching? Alexei Volkov is never apprehended. He remains in Istanbul, protected by the Turkish government. The U.S. issues an international arrest warrant, but Volkov is careful. He never travels to countries with extradition treaties. The FBI continues monitoring him, waiting. 6 months later, Naomi is interviewed. People ask if I'm proud of what I did. She pauses. I'm not proud. I'm tired. 12 people were targeted. 12 families, 12 careers put at risk. All because one cop wanted extra money. And all because no one questioned why a checkpoint only stopped black and brown faces. She looks at the camera. So no, I'm not proud. I'm angry. But at least now there's a record, a warning. Racism isn't just wrong, it's a vulnerability, and our enemies will exploit it. Webb is interviewed. I followed orders. That's what I tell myself. He looks away. But the truth is, I didn't want to see it, because seeing it meant I was part of it. 47 stops, 44 minorities. I knew. I just didn't care enough to stop. He looks at the camera. So if you're a cop watching this, when something feels wrong, it probably is. And following orders isn't a defense. I learned that the hard way. Naomi's final words. 3 months after the trial, I got a call from the FBI. They found something on Volkov's server, a file labeled H package. H for Harper. Inside were photos of my house, my car, my daughter's school, and a price, $50,000. $50,000 for me to cooperate. She pauses. Kovac sold my name for $1,500. Volkov was going to pay $50,000 to recruit me. That's the difference between a cop looking for extra money and a foreign agent running an operation. One thought I was worth $1,500. The other knew what I was really worth. She looks at the camera. So when people ask if this was about racism or espionage, I say it was both. Racism made me a target. Espionage made me valuable. And one phone call stopped them both. There are defense installations in every state, thousands of cleared contractors, all potential targets. The checkpoint in Greenfield is gone, but the model still exists. Target minorities in specific neighborhoods. Use minor infractions as justification. Collect names, clearance levels, addresses, sell the information. It worked for 6 months, and no one noticed, until Naomi Harper made one phone call. If this story exposed something you didn't know, hit that like button right now. Subscribe for more investigations into the systems we trust and the ways they fail us. Drop a comment. Have you ever been stopped at a checkpoint? What happened? We want to hear your story. And if you found this case compelling, check out our next video, the traffic stop that uncovered a human trafficking ring hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, one person asking questions can change everything.